An arrogant guide publicly humiliated a couple not knowing they were the parents of a billionaire. Dave was a humble mechanic, a gentleman of the town who bled grease and sweat. His auto shop, nestled between Mary's bakery adorned with the heavenly scent of fresh chocolate chip cookies, was a sanctuary for the families of their tight-knit suburban community. Dave worked hard for every wrench turn, always wearing the same worn-out cap, while Mary, with flour-dusted hands and a heart full of joy, fed the community through her sweet creations. Together, they thrived in simplicity, living the American dream with their son, Jake, a brilliant coder on the cusp of greatness. But that evening, as tension flickered across the town hall, everything was about to plunge into chaos. The gathering had turned from routine discussions to something much darker. An arrogant tour guide, confident in his leather shoes and insufferable smirk, strolled up to the lectern. With a voice dripping disdain, he dismissed the town's most cherished values, waving a hand in the direction of Dave and Mary. "Look at the town as mere laborers," he sneered, sowing discomfort among the audience. Gasps echoed like thunderclaps. Those words struck Dave like a hammer. Pride knotted in his chest. The whispers of the townsfolk wrapped around him like a cold shroud, but it was Mary's hand, warm and reassuring, that anchored him. She'd seen community struggles etched on the faces around them, yet here came a stranger, belittling their lives' work. The tension rose like steam, choking the air in the room. Jake, perched in the back row, felt layers peel away with every jab thrown at his parents. He had worked tirelessly at a tech internship, pouring his heart into a billion-dollar app that could change everything for his future. But in that moment, all the accomplishments felt small, reduced to nothing by a man who knew nothing of sacrifice or dedication. As the laughter of the crowd echoed around him, resentment boiled, a firestorm he could no longer contain. "Stop!" Jake shouted, heart racing. He stood up, blood pounding in his ears. "You don't know who they are." The room froze, eyes widening as he faced the tour guide, fighting the rising tide of shame washing over him. "Who are they?" The guide retorted, suddenly defensive. "Just some mechanics and bakers." "No." Jake interrupted, desperation wrapping tightly around him. "My dad is the one who taught me that hard work builds character. My mom's cookies have brought joy to this town, and they deserve respect." His voice quaked, fueled by the burning love for his parents. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The townspeople began to murmur, their emotions fueled by Jake's passionate plea. The air thickened, uncertainty hanging in the balance as the guide's arrogance began to crack. Shadows of doubt flickered across the faces of the townsfolk. They were a community built on hard work, grit, and family values, qualities this guide had insulted without a second thought. As Jake's words settled in, the atmosphere charged with intensity. Would they allow this outsider to dictate how they viewed their own values? The question lingered thick among them, simmering on the horizon of a profound change. With Jake at the forefront, armed with the love for his family, the tide began to turn. Would they stand together and reclaim their dignity, or would they let the arrogance of one man overshadow the strength of their community? The silence hung heavy as Jake bravely eyed the guide, prepared for the fight ahead, the fight for respect, unity, and the essence of who they truly were. Jake's heart raced as he stood, exposed yet defiant. The crowd simmered with a mix of curiosity and indignation. Eyes darted between the young coder confronting the smug tour guide and the couple who had poured their lives into uplifting the community around them. The once cafeteria-like atmosphere shifted, electric with determination. These people would not stand by while their values were trampled. The tour guide, taken aback, straightened his tie, his smirk faltering under the tide of growing resentment. "What do you know about real work?" he threw back, trying to regain control. "You're just a kid hiding behind your computer screen." "No. Jake answered quickly, fighting against the sting of that dismissal. I've seen how hard my parents work. They taught me everything I know, including how to stand up for what matters. He took a deep breath, steadied by the glimmer of pride in his mother's eyes. Nobody's perfect, but my family is part of what makes this town special. This isn't just a job for them, it's their passion, their life. At that moment, Mary stepped forward, holding Jake's gaze as she squeezed his shoulder. She was standing tall, her flour-dusted apron a badge of honor instead of a burden. We might not have wealth in the traditional sense, but our hearts are rich with love and kindness, a richness this town shares, she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a warm knife through butter. The community isn't about the money we make, but the bonds we forge and the support we give to one another. The murmurs transformed into soft applause, rippling through the rows. Heads nodded in agreement, and the weight of the guide's dismissive words began to lift from the shoulders of the crowd. They felt what Mary said deep in their bones, a shared truth that organizations like the church, local schools, and small businesses were threads that wove together the fabric of their lives. Dave's chest swelled with pride, looking at his wife and son. He realized it wasn't just his hands that shaped his destiny, his family's love fueled his spirit. The guide, with his overblown confidence cracked but still present, tried to respond with venom. What you all seem to forget is that the world runs on ambition and wealth. Look where you are mired in nostalgia while the real game is out there. His voice trembled, betraying the fear lurking beneath his arrogance, but the townsfolk had changed. Their spirits ignited, they rose, bolstered by the unity forming between them. Nostalgia? Someone in the back shouted. This is our life. This is where we belong. Another voice chimed in, more fevered, rising from the crowd. We celebrate what makes us human, not how big our bank accounts are. Each word seemed to fan the flames of resolve, and soon America's finest qualities came alive in that room: community, respect, shared values. They were more than mere mechanics or bakers, they were anchors steering their lives amid the storm of the outside world. Jake felt hope flooding him as he caught sight of the people he grew up with, the mothers and fathers, quien sabian el sacrificio detrás de la rutina diaria. How they came together during hardships, how they celebrated milestones, and how they stood for each other when it mattered most. The guide's smile had vanished, replaced with an expression of pure disbelief as the tide turned against him. Get out! Cried an elderly woman, her voice strong. You don't belong here if you can't respect what we've built together. Jake turned to his parents, hope flickering in his eyes. Mom, Dad, we have to show them what we can do. As they stood together, forming a protective barrier against the negativity, Jake knew it was time to reveal their secret, the billion-dollar app he had worked tirelessly on. Could he convince not just his town, but himself as well, that this was the moment to step into the spotlight and change the narrative surrounding their lives? The air was thick with anticipation. Would they accept him for who he had become? The stakes felt higher than ever, the future teetering on a precipice. And then Jake took a step forward into the spotlight, and the entire room held its breath in unison. What would he say next? Jake's palms were sweaty as he stood in front of the crowd, every heartbeat echoing in his ears. The air crackled with expectation. He looked into the faces of his neighbors, familiar yet charged with newfound resolve. His throat felt dry. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of determination he had. Listen, he began, his voice slightly shaky but growing stronger with each word. I understand that everyone here has their own story. These aren't just usual routines, they are the very threads we weave into the identity of this town. I used to sit behind screens, building a world as if it could rival the heart that's here. He gestured towards the townsfolk. But today, I realize it's not just about coding. It's about connecting to what's real: our community, our struggles, our victories. The crowd leaned in. They were with him, and that realization fueled him further. He felt the weight of their gazes, as though they were each silently saying, you can do this. I've spent the last 2 years writing lines of code for my app, working late nights, pushing myself beyond limits. But I was driven by something far greater than ambition or profit. he continued, locking eyes with his mother. I was driven by the hope that we could create something that would uplift us all. His mother's eyes glistened with tears, pride shining through. He turned to the tour guide, who was still trying to regain his composure but now looked vulnerable. This app is a tool meant to uplift small businesses, Jake proclaimed. Imagine being able to connect locals, share resources, and promote one another on a grand scale. This is more than just a business, it's a chance for us to thrive together, for us to be more than just a small town lost to the tide of corporate conformity. The crowd erupted into applause. Each clap was thunderous, each shout filled with enthusiasm. Yes. Yes. Jake's heart soared. The energy infused him, making him feel invincible. But I can't do this alone. We need to be a unified front. We have to invest our voices, our sweat, and our passion into this project together. This isn't meant just for me or my ambitions, it's for all of us. He shifted slightly, feeling the weight of what this meant. I want to show you what I've created. But first, I need the support of my own community. You are my foundation, my motivation, and together we can build something extraordinary. As he spoke, he could see his father nodding, his approval evident in every crease of his smile. The crowd's excitement surged, cheering and chanting Jake's name. But just as he began to feel the warmth of those cheers, the tour guide jumped in, his voice tinged with anger. You can't be serious. This town is stuck in the past. You think a quaint app will change anything? You're fooling yourself. Jake stood firm, feeling a mix of disbelief and a budding anger. We are not stuck. We are evolving. This is our moment to redefine what success means for us. The crowd rallied again, voices rising in a chorus of agreement, drowning out the guide's insults. They clapped in rhythm, their unity palpable, like a heartbeat, and then, amid the chaos, an elderly man from the back spoke up, his voice cutting through the tumult. Jake, my boy, show us what this app can do. We believe in you. Jake's heart raced once more, but this time it was with determination. He could feel the tide of support surging behind him, a wall of hope that could withstand any storm. He turned back toward the TV screen at the front of the room, ready to reveal the fruits of his labors. No more waiting. It's time. With trembling fingers, he swiped at his tablet, and the screen illuminated. As the vibrant colors flooded the display, he wondered, would this be the pivotal moment that changed everything for his family and his town? And with that thought, he launched into the presentation, but in the back of his mind lingered a question: was there love and unity enough to face the challenges ahead? Jake took a deep breath, gripping his tablet a little tighter. The screen glowed with the familiar layout of his app, filled with local images and bold colors. This was a mere demonstration, yet it embodied all his hard work and dreams. The crowd settled into an anticipatory silence, eyes locked on him, their collective energy palpable. Here we go, he murmured to himself, before launching into the presentation. This is our community's hub. It's where we can connect, support one another, and thrive. Each one of you is a vital part of what makes this town special. He swiped through the features: an interactive map showcasing local businesses, a message board for sharing events, and a resource exchange that highlighted tools and skills within the community. As he showcased each feature, murmurs of excitement rippled through the audience, smiles blossoming in the faces that had once doubted him, and then, he changed screens to reveal a section meant for community stories, a place for locals to share their journeys, their struggles, and their triumphs. If we can tell our stories, we can inspire each other, he said, his voice finding strength. This app isn't just about transactions, it's about connection. The room hummed with energy as people exchanged glances, nods of understanding spreading like wildfire. Jake felt a swell of pride. This was humanity coming alive in code and color, and he was right in the center of it. It didn't feel like a presentation anymore, it felt like a shared dream, but just as he began to speak about plans for outreach and future updates, the tour guide sneered again, his words dripping with disdain. You think a cute little app is enough to change people's mindsets? You're grasping at straws, kid. This town is dying because people don't care anymore. The atmosphere shifted, tension filled the air like static before a storm. The crowd reacted, murmuring in protest, their faces reflecting disbelief and irritation. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. Did he have the strength to stand firm against this negativity? No. He replied, cutting through the crowd noise, his voice rising above the disapproval. We are more than our struggles. We're family. If we believe in each other, we can turn this around. It takes one small spark to ignite a fire. That's what this app is, a spark. The passion in his voice ignited cheers once again, each clap resonating like a heartbeat. But deep down, Jake was shaken by the fear of failure. What if the guide was right? What if this wasn't enough? Still, he pushed those fears aside, focusing on the faces glowing with encouragement. Together, we can build an economy that reflects who we truly are. We've weathered storms before, and we can do it again. Who's with me? A wave of shouts erupted. We're with you, Jake. The sound washed over him like warmth on a cold day, filling the void of doubt, but then, a hand shot up from the back of the crowd. It was Mr. Thompson, the town's veteran entrepreneur. What if we tried this in tandem with a community event? A launch party that brings everyone together? Jake's heart leaped. That was brilliant. Yes. A launch party. Let us celebrate our businesses, our stories. It can be a day for us to showcase what we can do as a community. More voices chimed in, with ideas flowing freely now. We can have food stalls. Let us do live music. Invite everyone, even the kids. Excitement swelled until it felt like the roof might lift from the building. As Jake watched his vision transforming into something bigger, something that included all of their contributions, he couldn't help but feel the promise of change. Yet, just as the conversation crescendoed, the tour guide's voice broke through. You're all just caught up in the moment. It's not going to fix years of neglect. Jake's face fell momentarily. Doubt crept back in. Could they really turn this vision into a reality? A woman's voice cut through the air. Maybe not all at once, but hope and change start somewhere. We have to believe. Jake looked around. Hope flickered in their eyes, and he realized they were already beginning to believe in each other. With that, he felt a smile tug at the corners of his mouth. Okay, then. Let us make it happen. Together. The crowd erupted in fervent agreement, an unstoppable wave of energy. But as the cheers echoed around him, Jake could sense a shift in the air. A new voice spoke out, a local business owner, her tone resolute. There are people out there who want us to fail. How can we silence them? Jake paused, absorbing her words. The challenge lay ahead, and he wasn't sure if they had the fortitude for the fight. As the crowd buzzed with ideas for the launch, he sensed a storm brewing on the horizon. Would their unity withstand coming trials as they stepped into the unknown? Jake took a moment to gather his thoughts, absorbing the momentum in the room. Ideas cascaded like falling leaves, swirling in the air around them. Yet there was a weight hanging over him, foreboding and heavy. He scanned the faces of those who had rallied around him, feeling their wary enthusiasm. He took a deep breath, stepping forward. We can't deny that challenges lie ahead. But we can face them together. Mr. Thompson nodded, eyes filled with admiration. A launch party is a great start, but let us use this momentum to bring in new supporters. We need a plan, something that shows we're serious. Jake felt the intensity of the moment surge, like electricity shooting through the crowd. Individuals looked at one another, excitedly echoing his words. Right. Let us invite local media, get the social media buzzing, even approach potential sponsors. The crowd erupted into chatter, each voice adding to the mix of ideas, with some questioning, others shouting suggestions. But Jake sensed the tour guide's sneer still lingering, like a shadow over their determination. How long would their unification last? Listen, Jake called out, raising his voice above the clamor. Every idea matters. Let us put together a community action plan and assign roles. Hands shot up. Joy mixed with trepidation. I can handle the social media. I've got a good following, shouted one woman. I'll set up a meeting with local businesses. We need to make sure they see what we're creating, another man added. Jake felt a jolt of hope. They were organizing, transforming individual uncertainty into collective strength. Yes. It's about the whole community coming together, not just me. This is going to work. But the tour guide couldn't resist another jab. What happens when the party ends and the reality hits? You think a few speeches and food stalls will fix everything? You're dreaming. Frustration surged within Jake. But this time, he refused to let it break him. No, he said firmly, locking eyes with the guide. But it's a start. Change begins with dreams, and those dreams become actions like the ones we're planning right now. The audience rallied, eyes blazing with determination. Shouts of agreement ignited another wave of energy, drowning out the guide's voice. Then, an unexpected silence fell. Ella, a soft-spoken teacher, stepped forward, her hands clasped nervously. I know it feels daunting. But we can't ignore the reason behind these doubts. There's fear, yes, but on the other side is hope. And together, we have a chance to create something beautiful. Jake's heart swelled. That's right. It's the fear and the hope that bind us. We're taking the first step by believing in each other, that's already a victory. As cheers erupted once more, his mind raced. What if the doubts creeping behind them were real? Moments later, a young girl tugged at Jake's shirt. Mr. Jake. What if we made signs? Signs that say we believe in our town. A rush of warmth filled Jake's chest. Absolutely. Signs of love for our community. Ideas poured in again, laughter bubbling along with the excitement. But the memory of the guide's words clung to the edges of his thoughts. Suddenly, a quiet voice pierced his reverie. But what if no one shows up? Silence followed, the weight of the question hanging heavier than the previous challenges. Jake turned to see fear mirrored in the eyes of many. The chill of uncertainty settled in the crowd as the excitement dimmed. He took a deep breath. Then we'll make sure they do. We can reach out, spread the word, use our networks. We won't allow doubt to close our doors. Let us show them what we're made of. But deep down, Jake couldn't shake the fear gnawing at him. What if their efforts ended in empty streets? Would they still have the courage to stand together against a tide of rejection? As the crowd began to buzz again, Jake felt a shiver of foreboding. The real battle had only begun, and the stakes were rising. Would their spark be enough to ignite a lasting flame? Or would they fall into the shadows of doubt, leaving their hopes unfulfilled? The question hung in the air like a dark cloud, and as Jake looked around at the eager faces, he felt that familiar twinge of fear mixed with the flicker of hope. There was lingering uncertainty on the horizon, and it was about to get stormy. The crowd's energy pulsed, driven by their enthusiasm but countered by the undercurrent of fear that Jake couldn't shake. He glanced at Ella, who nodded, her eyes shining with determination. The weight of doubt still loomed, but he could see the flickers of hope sparking back to life among their ranks. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jake took a step toward the group, raising his hands to capture their attention. Let us make a list of tasks, so everyone knows their part. We can't just rely on passion, we need some structure. Who's in for handing out flyers? A few people volunteered quickly, eager to get started. It felt good, seeing that raw resolution to act. Handing out flyers was a small initial step, but it was tangible, a way to push back against the doubt that threatened to engulf them. As he went on, discussing everything from signage to engaging local businesses, Jake felt the weight lift slightly. Laughter echoed around him more eagerly, voices layering over one another with suggestions on how best to harness social media. Then, an idea struck him. What if we created a countdown on social media? A colorful graphic leading up to the party. Let us involve schools, local artists, businesses. Everyone should feel like they have a stake in this. Yes, shouted a local high school student. We can film videos of people sharing what they love about our town. The crowd erupted into activity again, and Jake soaked in the joy and renewed determination in the chaotic exchange. A hope bloomed in him, feeding off those around him. These were people willing to dedicate their time, energy, and passion for something greater than themselves, but as the buzz of excitement swirled, Jake couldn't help but feel a twinge of dread creeping back. He caught sight of the tour guide, smirking, lurking at the edge of the group. It irked him. Why did this person care so much about tearing them down? Just then, Jake noticed a distinguished man separating from the crowd, his presence radiating authority. He wore a tailored coat, and there was an air of confidence about him that caused Jake to pause. Who are you? Jake found himself asking, taking a step toward the man. Name S. Carl, community investor. I heard there might be some excitement brewing here, the man replied, a hint of curiosity in his voice. A sudden spark ignited in the group, whispers darting among them as they shifted their attention. Jake felt a rush of possibility. An investor? This could be the beginning of something bigger. Are you interested in our cause? Jake asked, heart racing with hope. Carl crossed his arms, nodding. Depends on what I'm hearing. If you can convince me that there's more than just a party in the works, I might be interested. Jake chewed his lip, feeling the stakes rise. You'll see. We're determined to make this community shine. It's more than a party, it's about bringing people together about hope. We're building something real. Carl's brow raised, intrigued. You think so? Let us see if your enthusiasm translates into action. I'll be back. Just like that, the man turned and walked away, leaving the crowd staring after him. The buzz of excitement was gone in an instant, replaced by a collective inhale. What just happened? Someone whispered nervously, voices dropping to whispers. We have to show him we're serious. Jake pushed against the whirlpool of uncertainty. Let us organize. Let him see we're not just a bunch of dreamers. But deep inside, Jake felt an unsettling tug at his fears. They had embraced hope, but now, had they bitten off more than they could chew? Would this man see in them the potential for real change, or would he leave them feeling even smaller? The questions hung heavy in the air. As darkness crept closer, Jake realized this could make or break their aspirations. Would they rise to the occasion, or would this be yet another set of dreams swallowed by doubt? The moment felt critical. What step would they take next? A flicker of determination sparked again, just waiting to be fanned into flame. Jake took a breath, feeling the crowd's energy wavering. He could sense that this was a pivotal moment. They needed to harness the momentum Carl had unwittingly provided. All right, everyone. He called out, heart pounding in his chest. This is our chance to show Carl that we're serious. Let us get organized. He divided the group into small teams, one for social media, another for outreach, and a few for logistics. Faces lit up with purpose again as the fear faded into a shared sense of urgency. Jake could see Ella rallying the social media team near the back, her unwavering spirit contagious. Hey! Jake shouted, gesturing for their attention. Let us come up with a hashtag for our countdown. It was just a small touch, but it felt like the first step towards something bigger, more meaningful. Community revival. Someone shouted. Cheers erupted, and momentum surged. As the teams got to work, conversations buzzed around Jake. The air felt electric with creativity and enthusiasm. Yet, beneath it all lingered the sobering thought of Carl's challenge. They needed to do more than just create excitement, they had to cultivate relationships and build credibility. Okay, I need ideas, Jake called out, gathering teams back together. What else can we do to create real change? Someone suggested a neighborhood cleanup day, while another proposed a community decision day where everyone could pitch their ideas for future projects. Jake felt the excitement swell. This was exactly what Carl was looking for, a sense of unity, something tangible. Then, as the ideas flew back and forth, a commotion erupted from the edge of the gathering. Jake turned to see the tour guide pushing through the crowd, a smirk plastered on his face. The negativity he exuded was palpable. "What are you all doing?" the guide called, an incredulous tone weaving into his words. "Planning a fairy tale that will never come true? Do you really think anyone cares about your little ideas?" A knot tightened in Jake's stomach. He stepped forward. "We're building a community. What we're doing matters. You should join us instead of tearing us down." The guide shrugged, his dismissive laughter echoing through the gathered crowd. "You really think your local party is going to turn heads? It's cute, but naive. Nothing's gonna change here." Silence followed his jab, leaves rustling in the growing stillness. Jake could feel the founder's hope waning, like the fading twilight. But before he could respond, a voice rang out strong and clear from the back. "We care. And we'll show you that we can do it." Ella's voice cut through the tension. Impressively, she stepped forward, hands on her hips, fiery determination radiating off her. "And if you really think it's a waste of time, maybe you're the ones who don't understand what this community is capable of." The crowd murmured, a sense of renewal pulsing through them. Jake felt pride swell in his chest at Ella's bravery. They were more than gathered bodies, they were a community ready to fight, ready to prove everyone wrong. Jake knew, in that moment, their path was clearer than ever. "Let us get to work, everyone. We have a community to rally." His voice rang out with renewed confidence, and the air crackled with renewed energy, bringing life back into the crowd. As they dispersed to their tasks, Jake caught a glimpse of Carl's shadow lurking at the edge of the street. In just a few hours, everything could shift if they could show him they were ready, but what if the guide's doubt was a sign that they weren't as unified as they thought? Could everyone rally behind this ideal? The city street loomed before them, echoing the whispered doubts and hopes in the air. Jake felt a tug of fear again, but alongside it burned a fierce desire to succeed. Would they triumph, or were the obstacles far greater than they realized? He squared his shoulders, determination flickering like a flame. Whatever came next would be the defining moment of their journey, and they had to seize every chance they got. Jake threw himself into organizing the teams, his heart racing. Every face in the crowd was a part of this movement now, each one a spark that could ignite change. He could feel the weight of their hopes and dreams resting on his shoulders. There was a well of passion bubbling beneath the surface, and Jake was determined to tap into it. "Logistics team," he called, clapping his hands to grab attention. "Let us secure a location for the cleanup day. Maybe the park by the community center. That'll draw a crowd." Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. The logistics team sprang into action, excitement fueling their steps. They were moving with purpose, and Jake couldn't help but feel it too. He felt alive, electric, just like the air surrounding them. "Ella," he called, turning towards her, "do you think you can draft a post for social media? We need to spread the word and build some hype." "Already on it." She beamed back, her fingers flying over her phone with zeal. Jake admired her spirit. She had a way of making the impossible seem feasible. He caught sight of a few others gathering around her now, lean faces lit by the glow of their screens, brainstorming hashtags and slogans. "Community pride starts today," someone suggested, echoing the enthusiasm that was starting to transform the air around them into something buoyant. Jake felt a smile cracking his face, a release of some of the tension that had crept in. But then the guide resurfaced, leaning against a street lamp, arms crossed tauntingly. His smirk was infuriating. "Are you actually going to follow through with this?" he sneered. "What's next? A parade? Sure, that'd convince us all of your seriousness." Jake inhaled sharply. It was hard not to let the cynicism shake him. The guide's indifference seemed to infect others. He could see heads turn, skepticism rippling among those who might still be on the fence. "Stop it!" Ella shouted, stepping forward once again. "We don't need your negativity. You think it's a fairy tale, but this is real life. We've got a community that cares." The guide rolled his eyes, an uninterested look plastered across his face, as if to say that their efforts were pointless. But Jake could feel the crowd drawing strength from Ella. He could see her words igniting a fire within them. What weighed on Jake's heart, however, was the thought that not everyone might feel the same way she did. He turned back to the crowd. "This isn't just about today. It's not just about cleaning up streets or making noise. This is about change. It's about coming together as neighbors, friends, and family." A tense energy ran through them, shaky at first, but solidifying as people began to nod. Jake felt his voice bellow louder, growing in conviction. This is about standing up against the doubt. As the murmur grew into shouts of commitment, he noticed distant faces lighting up. An elderly couple standing nearby exchanged glances, while a shy girl began to clap slowly, unsure but hopeful that this would matter. Suddenly, Carl, the city councilor, walked into clear view, curiosity dancing in his eyes. Jake's heart raced. This was it, their chance to sway him, to show that they weren't just a few loud voices, but a chorus of dreams eager for realization. "Carl!" Jake shouted, waving his arms to catch his attention. "Join us. This is just the beginning." Carl stopped, his brow furrowing as he scanned the scene. A moment of uncertainty washed over Jake. Was there a flicker of interest, or was he just judging their chaotic enthusiasm? As the crowd rallied behind him, Jake realized they weren't just fighting against the guide's laughter or Carl's indifference. They were fighting for each other, for the heart of their community. He could see the possibilities unfolding around him like petals blooming in spring sunshine. His stomach flipped at the immense weight of what was at stake, but would it be enough? Would Carl see the light in their efforts, or would he remain in the shadows of doubt? Jake's heart thundered in his chest. Everything hung in the balance. Would they rise to the challenge today? Or would they be destined to remain in the realm of the guide's mockery? Jake held his breath, watching Carl's face. Seconds felt like hours, anticipation crackling in the air like static. The crowd's energy shifted, a collective heartbeat throbbing, a blend of hope and trepidation. Would this man, a figure of authority, see beyond the jesting of the guide and grasp the gravity of their mission? Carl's eyes darted over the crowd. Jake could see the wheels turning in his mind. Did he sense the unity? Did he feel the determination radiating from each noise, each word shared among friends and neighbors? Jake thought of the time he spent in this community, filling it with laughter, memories, and the promise that something better was always within reach. "Look," Carl's voice broke through the murmur, steady but nonchalant. "I admire your energy, really. But turning this momentum into something impactful? That's where the challenge lies." He paused, studying Jake's determined face. "Are you asking us to give up then?" Ella shot back, her voice unwavering. "Because we will never back down." The crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of defiance breaking against the wall of Carl's skepticism. The city councilor's lips twitched slightly, as if he realized he might have underestimated them. "All right," he conceded, crossing his arms. "I will come to see what you achieve when you gather for the cleanup. Show me that you can all unite for a common cause, and maybe I'll support you. Just remember, talk is easy. Actions will speak louder." Jake felt a rush of warmth swell in his chest. This was their moment to prove they could do more than just hope. The laughter in the distance no longer stung, instead, it seemed to fade against the backdrop of their burgeoning determination. "Let's pack it in for today," he called, glancing around at the energized faces. "But remember, this is only the beginning. We have a mission ahead of us." As the crowd dispersed into small groups, the discussions flowed like the river running through the nearby park. Ideas swirled, Some folks gathered around Ella as she plotted their social media outreach, while others clustered with the logistics team, setting a timeline for their cleanup day. Yet amidst the camaraderie, Jake spotted the guide lingering off to the side. His expression hadn't changed, and that infuriating smirk persisted like a summer itch that wouldn't let up. Jake took a steadying breath. He couldn't let doubt seep into his heart that he turned back to Carl, who was still inching forward as if trying to gauge whether this could really be a turning point for the community. "Thank you for your support," Jake said, allowing sincerity to seep through. "We won't disappoint you." Carl nodded, barely a shift of his chin, but it felt monumental. Jake felt the pulse of hope vibrating through everyone gathered. They weren't just building a clean park, they were starting a movement, shaking a foundation that had stood too long under layers of neglect and apathy. "Just wait," Jake murmured, glancing at Ella, who had her head down, focused on her screen, but every now and then her smile broke through, becoming infectious. "Wait until we show everyone what we're really capable of." As they all wrapped up, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of eyes upon him. The guide stepped closer, a shadow creeping into their bright moment. "You think this will matter?" he spat, still testing the waters. "It's just a one-day show." Jake met his gaze, every ounce of disbelief and mockery boiling within him. "One-day shows change lives. Let us see how you feel after we create a ripple effect. Wait for it." With those words hanging heavy in the air, he turned back to his team, their laughter and chatter enveloping him like a protective shield. They were more than just a cleanup crew, they were the flame that could burn through the fog of doubt, and next time, he promised himself, he wouldn't allow an outsider's scorn to clip their wings. They were going to fly, but as he wrapped up the meeting and watched Carl exchange a final look of confusion with the guide, a twist of anxiety settled in. Would they be able to sustain this? Or would the weight of expectations prove too heavy? Jake's resolve steadied, but deep down, he knew they were about to step into an unseen storm, one that could either make or break them. What other challenges lay ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon? The morning sun peeked through the clouds like a long-lost friend, casting rays of hope over the community park. Excitement hung in the air, vibrant and infectious as the townspeople gathered for the cleanup. Dave, Mary, and Jake stood at the forefront, eyes glimmering with pride as they watched neighbors mingle, laughter echoing amid the soft rustling of leaves. "Can you believe this?" Mary said, her voice bubbling with joy, flourishing in genuine connection. Dave nodded, his weathered hands clasped proudly. "This is what we've built together, a community ready to reclaim its spirit." Jake felt a rush of uncontainable excitement. Today was vital, a launchpad for their dreams. The banner he'd made with Ella flapped lightly overhead, its bright colors and hopeful slogan, "Together we rise." Each word felt like an alive promise. Nothing was too small to make a difference. As they stood among the sea of familiar faces, Jake thought back to that fateful night in the town hall, the tension that had gripped each heart. It was a turning point. Now, they were flipping that script. He took a deep breath, absorbing the powerful energy surrounding him, feeling a surge of belonging. "All right, everyone," Jake called, and a hush fell upon the crowd. "Today isn't just about cleaning. It's about showing what we can achieve as a community." He pointed, gesturing to nearby families gathering trash bags, shifting their focus, aligning with a shared purpose. People nodded and cheered, the spirit igniting around him. Kids ran with wide grins, donning their little gloves, while the elders shared stories and laughter, reinvigorated by hope. It was beautiful, a glimpse of unity amid the small-town charm shattered by the arrogance of one misguided guide. Suddenly, Jake noticed Ella near the front lines, taking pictures, capturing the essence of this day. She turned and met his gaze, her eyes mirroring his enthusiasm. He felt his heart soar. "Let us do a countdown for the first community project reveal," she suggested, her excitement bubbling over. "Count backwards from 10, just like we did at the fair last summer." Jake could see the kids bouncing on their toes, counting in a playful chorus. 10-9-8 A wave of energy washed over them, laughter bubbling up like a soft melody. 3-2-1. They shouted as the first trash bag burst open, filled with forgotten remnants of neglect. With that tiny gesture, the collective heart of the town beat stronger, a promise of restoration echoed in every sweep of their brooms, but just as things began to shift into full swing, Jake felt a shadow loom near. The tour guide lingered at the edge, arms crossed, a begrudging scowl on his face. Jake glanced at Dave, who stiffened slightly, instinctively gearing up to defend their hard work against this negativity. But he wasn't worried this time. They had built something beautiful, and nothing could overshadow the momentum they'd gained. "Hey! What are you doing here?" Jake shouted, his voice carrying over the crowd, firm yet determined. The guide rolled his eyes, the cockiness still draped over him like a heavy coat. "Just witnessing the small-town circus you're putting on. You really think cleaning a park is going to change anything?" Jake took a step forward, courage swelling in his chest. "This isn't just about cleaning the park. It's about restoring our community spirit. It's about hope. If you can't see the change, then maybe you should look closer." Ella stepped forward, notably unyielding. "We're taking our future into our own hands. We're proud of who we are and what we've built, and you have no power here." And at that moment, the crowd erupted with cheers, support reflecting back on them like sunlight casting away shadows. They wrapped around Jake and Ella, a living shield against the cynicism that had threatened their dreams. "Keep moving forward," shouted one voice. "Don't look back," added another, emboldening the townsfolk even further. Each word echoed the truth. They wouldn't allow a single voice of doubt to fracture their unity. The guide scowled, his bravado faltering beneath the harmonious strength of their community. The distance between him and the people transformed, the laughter and joy radiating from the town felt like a fortress. "Now you've really gone and stirred the pot, kid," he muttered, turning to leave. Jake exchanged glances with his parents, who nodded, pride blooming in their hearts. Together, they had weathered storms and stood resolute as a family, embodying the spirit of the town they cherished. With every shovel in the ground, toxin released into the earth, and trash bag filled, they chipped away at the past. They fashioned a new story woven from threads of resilience, community, and love. As the sun climbed higher, laughter echoed, storytelling twined with purpose, hope saturating the air like fragrant blooms. Each mother and father, each child, every elder, were the heartbeats that pulsed through their beautiful community. Jake stood tall, heart swelling. "This is just the beginning," he declared, and the crowd roared back in agreement. "Together, we can reclaim our town." And as the day stretched on, post-cleanup chatter hummed like the sweet heartbeat of the neighborhood, people energized, plans forming. Community events were forged in conversation, bonds strengthened in laughter. No more would they be swept under the rug of oblivion. A future shone ahead, glittering brightly, alive with possibilities. It wasn't merely about tearing equipment or cleaning grounds, it was about connections, love, and shared aspirations that made them family. Their voices rang out like a collective promise: together, they would rise. And as those words echoed through every corner, their community spirit found new life, both gentle and fierce, ready to take on the world. Now that the story has reached its heartfelt culmination, we're inviting you all to be a part of this beautiful journey. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the spirit of our community alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let's celebrate together. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and feel the power of unity. Your support means the world. Let's keep this momentum going.